Good evening, everybody. As you can see, we are finishing up our war with our continental war with Japan. I don't think we'll be able to accomplish it this episode, but things are basically rolling up together in a nice little bow, a pretty little bow that we're gonna need. Japan has lost a ton of territory. The assassination, fighting to end that rabble rouser. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think our government would support it since we are friends with Stalin, who probably enacted that plan. However, I think that does get rid of the officer purge. Now he's working on anti-fascist diplomacy. Yeah, it looks like Germany is just out. I don't think they have anything they can do. So hopefully with that happening, we'll see some Soviets moving back over to our borders. Maybe a Soviet lend-lease or something could be in order. We have some extra military factories. I think they're the ones that we finished up building. Now we're back into begging the Soviets for more steel. Yeah. At least we have a pretty commanding amount of factories, up to 87 now. You can see our we now have about 3 civilian factory building groups, which are like groups of 15 that can do whatever, really. And infrastructure, it's being repaired. Everything's moving forward. All's going well. Oh my. This Soviet unit is going insane. He's going gun-ho. He's about to cut off all of these Japanese troops. They're going to feel a fitting demise. Huh. Alright, I'm gonna unpause. Hopefully. My computer will agree with me. Sorry about my computer, guys. I wish it was better. This thing is not necessarily the gaming PC that I wish it was. Alright. Declare war. There we go. Moving right on ahead. Huh. Yeah, I don't think the Japanese have enough supplies at this point. I'm sure we'll start seeing supply issues once we fully cut them off between their land borders. They have 3 provinces that they move supplies through, and once we cut them off, they'll really be hurting. Or at least I hope they will. The Japanese, they're doing pretty well. I think they're advancing into... Nope, they're not advancing at all. Mongolia lost a few provinces, but I'm fairly sure that they've halted most of the Japanese advance. Now that they're completely cut off, I mean, just go around mopping them up. Yep. And they'll start to experience low supplies very soon. Once that happens, everything else will really fold together. Alright, so we're cleaning up this little pocket, and the Japanese are going to feel a lot of pain. Yeah. You can tell that they're really hurting, troop-wise. Anytime we destroy a division basically ensures that we'll win the war. I mean, the only good Japanese soldier is a dead one, as far as I'm concerned. Alright, we're slowly putting them down, round them up. Got some Japanese soldiers right here in the mountains who are very low on supply, so we'll take them out. Yeah, they're really starting to hurt casualties-wise. 261,000. Ooh, Eastern China. Where are they invading this time? Are they actually invading, or are they just dropping a single troop? Yeah, they're dropping off one guy. Alright. Let's go get them over there. Let's move on. Alright. I'll be there in a few days. Hold your horses, Japan. Alright. We are doing really well. Hopefully we have some good war participation. I mean, it's mostly against the German Reich. And so our war, we have so much occupation against Japan here. I don't think there's much they can really do to us. However, I don't understand why they would make bombing a part of war participation in this current state. It's worth so much that there's not really much I can do about it. Yeah. German losses are mounting up too in this game. Yeah. We're starting to see that the Japanese, they can't really do anything about us. Ooh, there we go. Finally, cut them off. And now that we're rolling through Japan, continental Japan, there's not much they can do. Gibraltar Falls. I mean, that makes sense. I'd be really disappointed if nationalist Spain couldn't take Gibraltar from the UK. Alright, we got another round of our factories completed. Ooh, we're insufficient resources once again. Just barely, I'm sure. Yeah, we got 55 at our disposal. Over here, we have 31 military factories, which is a pretty small amount when you compare it to some of the larger nations. Let's see. Do that, that, that. Yeah, just move you to the bottom. Let them finish the military factors that they're working on already, but nothing else. Don't need them to move on from that. I'm sure this military factory will be over and done with very quickly. Alright, I won't attack you, Japan, or France. I won't do it. Somebody else might, but it won't be me. I'm sure we'll experience a very quick Cold War. Yeah. Soviets are advancing into German territory very quickly. In fact, so much to say is that the Germans only own a tiny bit of Soviet provinces, which I'm sure that also means that, you know, I'm going to go ahead and justify my war against Taiwan. Now that they're arming up and they've built up a few cities in here, I'm pretty comfortable with doing that while we wait to clean up Japan here. You can see that they're falling apart at this point, and that there's not much they can do about it. Alright. Yeah, they just have such low supply. Now that we're finishing that battle up, yeah, this thing should be over in just a few days. I don't see it lasting all that long. Mao over here is doing very well. It's a little charismatic. He's a half planner. He's not a full good planner. He's a half planner, you know. And now that the Japanese are pretty much relying entirely on their naval bases to supply their army, you can see that they can't supply this large of an army in a timely manner. So things are just moving right on ahead in our just for us in general. Alright. We're gonna have to import oil and steel and all of these things. Who do we have the most influence with oil? Yes, it's the Soviets, of course it is. Trade. We need steel. Go to the Soviets. More steel. Alright. And now that we have a lot more factories, the Soviets, they can't really do all that much to us. We're pretty unstoppable at this point. I'm going to allocate the next group of factories to making more improved artillery. But we're starting to fill up our needs for motorized and support equipment. Our support equipment need is entirely filled, so let's see. We'll do that. Yeah. Alright. Things are just working out. Yep, the Japanese, they're up to almost 500,000. They've passed 1/3 of a million. Maybe we can get them up to 500,000 in this game. Yeah, we're just rolling through them. I think they gave up on this area. I think they just entirely gave up. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude or anything. I think they have no faith in themselves. Yep. Take Shandong. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da da da. Da. Okay. Alright. This one doesn't have any troops, so I'll just control click and assign a few to the larger plan. There we go. Everybody, go all out. Attack. Yep. PRC is officially taking a hold of continental Japan. And there is nothing that can be done about it. We're up to 28% participation in this war. Somehow only 28%. Because of the way the mechanics... Ooh. We're back to... Okay, it's about to... It looks like the Germans, they got invaded navally. Ooh, we're about to get invaded navally. Fazoo, where are you guys coming in from? I don't see any troops directly attacking us. I'll just add a motorized vehicle. Ideally. Now that we actually have a stockpile of support equipment, I'm fairly confident in our troops that we'll be able to take over continental China without much worries. We filled them up on support equipment, and we're near quenching the need for artillery or infantry, but we're getting there. We're getting there slowly, ever so slowly. I'm gonna worry a little bit less about upgrades. Move our troops to the second most important. Oh, would you look at that? there's a solid amount of territory held by us. Alright. We're just moving on in. Yeah. The German Reich seems unstoppable. It took them to 1940. Gosh. This is the worst German Reich I've seen in quite a while. I mean, if France capitulates, that's a whole nother story. But I don't see France surrendering at this point. Alright, we finally have our first fighter. And we're going to go for fighter 1s right after that, because obviously having terrible fighters, the interwar Great War fighters, is not going to be all that helpful. So we're going to go for our fighter 1s, which will be nice. And with that, let's see, is there any resistance to us? I don't think there should be. That wouldn't really make any sense. Looks like we're fine. Looks like they're mostly okay with our occupation. Things are going almost entirely in our favor now. Yeah. It's weird how we're considered the aggressors. That's usually not what happens. Yeah. Pushing up 400,000 losses. You know, I'm gonna turn down the speed just a tiny bit. Why aren't you advancing? It's very easy for you to advance. Just take the territory, man. Let's see. Attack. Attack. Yep. We're pushing on up. We're claiming territory left and right. Of course, the Russians are going in with their tanks. They're so fast. Alright. Alright, getting the Japanese out of here will definitely help us. Yep. They're defending our city. Defending on our beaches, which is unacceptable. Alright. Motion those factories to go that way. Build up that. Alright. Yeah, Japan is pretty much done. I don't see Japan being able to do anything to us at this point. Oop, computer froze. Computer froze. This is awkward. Huh. Okay. Well, I think I'm gonna close the episode here and see if I can fix this. Sorry about that, guys. Second armistice. Oh, somebody's... Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Sometimes the peace deals, they pause the entire game. Okay, so the Germans, they managed to get France to capitulate altogether. So there was an actual peace conference. They did actually fight for, you know, peace. Apparently they couldn't get all of France to agree to the capitulation, however. And that could be really bad for us. Because, you know, the Russians might not actually be able to do all that much against the troops, you know. I'm going to just generally say troops because that seems, you know, apt. Okay, we're going to have this guy just go around and snatching up VPs left and right. Yeah. Italy declared war on Greece. They joined the Allies, etc., etc. Okay. Alright, I'm going to select half of our units, but I guess we'll have to wait until the next time. Thank you for joining me. I think we are going to finish up the continental portion of this war, and then we'll have to work on some naval invasions of mainland Japan. Thank you very much. I've been your host, Hoodlum, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.